Hello, everyone. Well, lovely to have you all with us today. Welcome to the webinar on TAFE's collaborations with Indonesia and skills development in the creative industry sector. My name is Eva Filipiak and I'm the Director International Engagement at TAFE Directors Australia. TDA is the peak body representing Australia's publicly owned technical and further education institutes, university TAFE divisions, and the Australia Pacific Technical College. TAFEs offer a wide range of vocational education and training courses, both accredited and non-accredited, and have a long experience in supporting learners and organizations meet their training needs. Many TAFEs also offer higher education courses, English language or ELICOS courses, and teacher training courses, including the International Skills Training or IST courses, which aim at strengthening trainer capability in delivering and assessing competency-based training. TAFEs have also strong capabilities in online and blended learning, developed even prior to the COVID-19 pandemic, and have recently shared their experiences with Indonesian partners through a series of webinars with the support of the International Labour Organization, Jakarta. For those of you interested, the recordings of these webinars are available online on the ILO Jakarta YouTube channel. TAFEs have a long experience in working internationally. Just maybe if you wouldn't mind putting yourself on mute while not speaking, that would be great. And I'm quickly finishing with the introductions before passing the floor to our panelists. So just from an international perspective, TAFEs have been working internationally for many years and have supported skills development in Indonesia in a range of industries and with a variety of partners, including government, local education providers, and industry. We will be presenting to you today 2 case studies of cooperation in the area of music production and fashion design between 2 Australian TAFEs, Victorian TAFEs actually, Melbourne Polytechnic and Bendigo Kangan Institute, and their Indonesian partners, Enter Audio House and the Yogyakarta State University. The aim of this webinar is to showcase ways our 2 countries can work together in the area of creative industries, a sector of great potential for both our countries, despite recent challenges stemming from the COVID-19 pandemic. We hope that the webinar will give you some ideas of potential collaborations and lead to new partnership opportunities between Australian TAFEs and Indonesian organizations. I have the pleasure of having with me today 7 distinguished panelists who will be presenting their experience in working together in the creative industry sector. Their presentations will be followed by a Q&A session, and I invite all participants to put down your questions in the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen throughout the presentations. I will first give the floor to Melbourne Polytechnic and Enter Audio House, but I would like to quickly introduce the speakers to you first. Tim Gilbert leads Melbourne Polytechnic's international division and is an industry leader in developing new models of transnational programs both across TVET and the higher education sector. We have Jessie Roberts with us today as well, and Jessie is a program leader music industry at Melbourne Polytechnic. Jessie has worked in the music industry for 20 plus years and spent a decade educating across secondary and tertiary sectors before moving into educational leadership roles. Jessie has made a significant contribution to the development of music industry education program in state, national and international environments over the last 2 decades. Welcome as well to Inyo Saleh, who is the founder and director of Enter Audio House, which builds vocational education in the non-formal profession. He's also a practitioner and a consultant in the audio and event areas in Indonesia. And welcome finally to Sesi Nabila Saraswati, who leads the Enter Audio House's international division to connect and implement the Indonesia-Australia partnership. Many thanks to you all to be here with us today, and I'll pass the floor to you. You have 30 minutes for your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Eva, and thank you and welcome to everyone for joining this webinar today. From Melbourne Polytechnic and Enter Audio House, we plan to give you a bit of a case study about the background of how this partnership was developed, about the sort of model that it is, and the benefits for both sides. We welcome questions from you all, so please feel free to put them in the Q&A box, and we'll be more than happy to answer them at the end. Next slide, thanks. This is the team that are presenting today, and Eva's already introduced, so we'll move on to the next slide. But here you can see, you know, an example of the benefits of this partnership. When we joined with Enter Audio House, our main ambition was to get a foothold in the Indonesian market. We can see that politically, Australia and Indonesia, the relationship is only getting closer. The two nations are becoming friendlier and friendlier, and if you visit Indonesia, you'll see that people are very warm and welcoming, and Australians are very well received. So we've all really enjoyed our visits over there. The pictures here are from our study tour last year. We sent our audio engineering students to do work experience with the Enter Audio House students as well. So they worked on this Soundrenalin concert in Bali, and this is a great example about why we are doing this partnership. It wasn't really about the commercial benefits. That is something that is happening at the same time, but it was more about what is the overall benefit to our students and our staff. Next slide. So as I mentioned, you know, to begin with, our priority was to build something in Indonesia. We've been very active in China, Korea, and many other countries in Southeast Asia, but we hadn't really kicked any goals in Indonesia, so we were focused on that, and so we did target Indonesia. We were fortunate enough to be introduced to Inyo and his team, and we realized then we'd found the right partner. Inyo is an expert in his field. He's very well regarded by the industry in Indonesia, the audio engineering industry, and we realized that we can really bring something to support the industry as well. We can bring Australian qualifications that will help local Indonesians be more employable, both in Indonesia and around the world. But we had some concerns. You know, at the top level, you can see that you know, Indonesia really encourage investment in education from international providers. However, when you drill down into the actual regulations, you find that there aren't many. There aren't any, or there aren't many. So you're kind of on your own there. You're sort of trying to work out, well, what is legal? What are we allowed to do? And again, we were fortunate. We had the support of staff from Austrade and also the Victorian Government Business Office to advise us and encourage us to say, no, you're on safe ground here. This is a good partner, and the model that you're looking for, it can work. So, you know, this experience has led to Melbourne Polytechnic starting new partnerships in Indonesia. And so, yeah, we thank Enter Audio House for supporting us with this first one. It has allowed us to gain a foothold, and we are very committed to this partnership as well. Next slide. Thank you, Jesse. So another one of the priorities was to have our students get overseas experience too. So, yes, we wanted to run a transnational program, which means delivering an education in another country. We wanted to run a program and graduate students in Indonesia. But, you know, we really did want to have our students to engage. We didn't want a one-sided sort of partnership where we just, you know, send a teacher over there and that's it. We wanted to have our students and Indonesian students to really engage together, and that is proven to be a successful formula. I think from that study tour we sent last year, as well, it's been quite clear that this is something we want to do every year. This year because of COVID, but I know that Jesse and his students are very keen to get back over there to Bali and maybe to Yogyakarta next time. Although Bali was a great experience, I'm sure they would love to get back there. A secondary consideration for us is to build that into our higher education programs. So students that graduate from into Audio House, they will graduate with a Melbourne Polytechnic Institute accredited course, and then based on getting more work experience in the industry, they can RPL into the diploma, and with that diploma they would get advanced standing for our Bachelor of Music. I'm going to leave my part there, and I'll come to the end. Please, Jesse, go to the next slide, and then I'd like to welcome Inyo and Sesi to speak from here. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Tim. So here's many Indonesian participants. So Eva asked me to explain in Indonesian, in Bahasa. So maybe it will make more clearly. So next, Sesi will make a summary for what I explained for this slide. Oke, terima kasih semua. Sebetulnya program ini berjalan karena memang banyak sekali profesi yang non formal di Indonesia itu yang belum mempunyai kanal pendidikan secara akademis. Jadi salah satunya itu adalah pendidikan di bidang audio. Masih banyak sebetulnya, terutama di bidang showbiz itu masih banyak belum terdapat kanal pendidikan di Indonesia. Event management, event planner, audio, lighting itu masih banyak yang berjalan tanpa melalui program edukasi. Nah ini akhirnya yang saya berpikir bahwa harus ada pendidikan untuk para pelaku profesi tersebut. Industrinya sangat luar biasa di Indonesia. Di tempat saya berasal, Bandung, itu dalam kondisi normal lebih dari 1000 event setiap minggu. Ya, ini dikelola oleh teman-teman yang sangat amatir karena tidak ada kanal pendidikannya. Nah, peluang ini sebetulnya tidak membuat kualitas dari para pelaku industrinya ini bekerja dengan efektif dan baik, sehingga diperlukan sebuah pendidikan dan diperlukan sebuah pendidikan untuk tingkat akademisnya, gitu. Sehingga peluang untuk membuat sertifikasi, ya, atau pendidikan yang memang formal bersertifikat internasional, sehingga mereka mempunyai akreditas di bidang pekerjaannya dia, gitu. Nah, teman-teman semua. Di Indonesia memang kanal pendidikannya tidak tersedia, sehingga membuat sebuah kanal pendidikan baru itu sangat terasa sulit sekali, gitu ya. Atau mengadopsi kurikulum dari luar Indonesia masuk ke Indonesia itu sangat sulit karena standarisasi yang berbeda, gitu. Akhirnya saya bersama beberapa asosiasi atau komunitas, ya, itu bekerja sama untuk mencoba membuat satu kanal pendidikan yang diadopsi dari luar Indonesia, gitu. Nah, di sini ada di tahap pertama ini saya bekerja sama untuk bidang audio itu dengan Indonesia Audio Engineer Society, yang kedua adalah Indonesia Audio Engineer Community. Nah, kita bekerja sama untuk bisa menciptakan satu pendidikan yang setingkat diploma, gitu. Nah, polanya akhirnya adalah kita menemukan pola yang ada di Australia, yaitu program transnasional, gitu, untuk bisa memperbaiki industri yang ada, yang sudah berjalan selama ini di Indonesia. Nah, industri di bidang audio ini sudah sangat luar biasa dan sudah berjalan sejak lama. Salah satu bentuk yang paling mungkin untuk kita buat di Indonesia ini adalah program vokasional. Akhirnya saya bertemu dengan Melbourne Polytechnic yang bisa support saya luar biasa, ya, untuk bisa menciptakan program ini. Nah, akhirnya kita buat program adalah transnasional dengan vocational program. Dan ini akhirnya kita olah sedemikian rupa, ya. Support yang luar biasa dari Melbourne Polytechnic, ya. Kemudian juga dari TAFE Victoria, gitu. Ada Clarice di sini, hai Clarice, gitu. Bantu kita untuk bisa menciptakan pola pendidikan baru yang ada di Indonesia. Dan ini adalah yang pertama di Indonesia, kerjasama antara lembaga berbasis komunitas dengan universitas yang ada di Australia. Ya, dukungan dari semua pihak sangat luar biasa. Akhirnya kerjasama ini akhirnya bisa berlangsung dan kita mempersiapkan tim pengajar yang sebelumnya sudah dulu berkuliah di Melbourne Polytechnic. Dia mendapatkan dulu Diploma of Music Industry, Sound Production. Setelah selesai, mereka menjadi dosen di Enter Audio House. Polanya sederhana, mengadopsi kurikulum dari Australia, ya. Kemudian belajarnya di Indonesia dengan dosen dari Indonesia, gitu. Sehingga program ini bisa lebih terjangkau secara biaya, kemudian secara praktis juga posisinya ada di Indonesia, bukan di Australia, gitu. Setelah selesai, mereka akan mendapatkan sertifikat dari Melbourne Polytechnic. Jadi Enter Audio House tidak mengeluarkan ijazah apapun. Jadi Enter Audio House adalah sebagai provider Melbourne Polytechnic di Indonesia untuk melaksanakan pendidikan akademis di bidang audio engineering. Lulusan dari Enter Audio House itu nanti akan wisuda, gitu, di Australia, di Melbourne, ya, karena mereka mendapatkan ijazah dari Melbourne Polytechnic. Nah, so far tanggal 2018 program ini sudah rampung kita selesaikan, ya. Melbourne Polytechnic, Enter Audio House bekerja sama, didukung juga oleh TAFE Victoria. 2019 akhirnya kita bisa running dengan 30 mahasiswa kita di batch 1. Oke, mungkin cukup dari saya. Sesi silakan untuk bisa meresumekannya dalam in English. Thank you everybody.
First of all, thank you so much for everyone who attend the webinar, and Eva, Tim, Jesse, thank you so much, and Clarice, it's really nice to see you here. And probably I will gonna like to put some point as a resume about what Pak Inyus explained before. I put around 8 points in here. So if I may explain about this slide, it's previously said that the reason why this program can happen in Indonesia is just because there are still so many professions which are very developed and do not have academic backups yet in Indonesia. And many non-formal professions in Indonesia that require academic knowledge because there are still many gaps between self-learning knowledge and academic knowledge. And then our founder, which is Pak Inyo, finally found Melbourne Polytechnic as an institution who can support Enter Audio House with its transnational program with vocational form. It was such a big support from Melbourne Polytechnic, which is help us to go through everything, so then Enter Audios can bring the curriculum from Melbourne Polytechnic. The challenge is real when education providers in Indonesia, like us, should equate Indonesian education standard with Australian education standard, because that is something that is in the realm of G2G or government to government supposed to be. So that's the reason why Enter Audio House feels so blessed. We can make a partnership with Melbourne Polytechnic, where we can bring their curriculum and deliver it in Indonesia using Bahasa Indonesia. And at the end, our student will do the graduation and have their international certification in Australia. To be able to deliver the Melbourne Polytechnic curriculum in Indonesia, we've sent some of our lecturers to study the details in Melbourne Polytechnic. We are doing the program in music industry sound productions, so they can have the same understanding when they return to Indonesia and explain every single thing about the curriculum that they bring. And finally, after the founder built the school named Enter Audio House, we were lucky to open the school witnessed by representative from Melbourne Polytechnic, Jesse Roberts, and representative from Victoria Government, TAFE Victoria. There were Clarence Campbell and Brett Stephen at that time. It was really nice to have them all when we do open the Anchor Audio House. So finally, it was really good to know that everybody can do work together between Indonesia and Australia. And I really hope we didn't stop here, because there's so many things to do, even though we know that it should be a little bit challenging to face the situation in this pandemic. But probably after this situation, we can do more than this. So I think guess that's it from me. Probably Jesse Robert can continue for the next one. Thank you.
Terrific. Thank you. So I'm not going to drill too far into the nuts and bolts of the program in this presentation. If that's something you want to go into, we can explore that more in the Q&A. But just to start off with, to try and give you just an overview of what the product is, what's been offered together. So we worked with the Enter Audio House to develop an institute accredited course that was designed specifically to meet their training needs of their audio practitioners. So they'd identified that there was a rather large cohort of experienced audio practitioners in Indonesia who had a number of years of experience, but were kind of missing some of the theoretical foundations, and were also seeking to kind of broaden their skill sets. So there wasn't a qualification in Australia that we could pick up and provide. It was really a matter of working deeply together to work out what would actually work for this group of students who were really quite advanced. Well, they're actually probably some of the most advanced engineers that you're likely to come across in the world. So designing a qualification that would support their learning needs took a bit of work. But that's what we did together. We took some time to develop that, and that is delivered primarily in Bandung, where students come and do some intensive classes, and then that's complemented by their work arrangements outside of the direct delivery that's done in Bandung. So that's the IAC, the Certificate of Advanced Audio Engineering, and then the students have a pathway to move into the Diploma of Music Industry in Sound Production, which is an AQF nationally recognised qualification. And what is involved in that is there's some gap training to basically explore some of the Australian specific industry workplace practices, some of the legislation and regulation that's involved in the Australian work environment, so kind of looking at intellectual property and copyright and some health and safety practices and business and financial practices. And then there's a recognition process for their extensive industry experience, which they kind of thoroughly document. And then the final part of that is kind of having a graduation ceremony in Australia, which incorporates some further industry study tour for those graduates of that program. So that's kind of the whole program in a nutshell. I just wanted to talk about briefly about the kind of broader and longer term outcomes that are coming from the program, as opposed to going into the specific details of what's being offered. And so probably one of the biggest features of this program, that there's actually many of them that are quite exciting to talk about actually, but the one I was just going to discuss was that what we've managed to provide together with this partnership is a really immersive cross-cultural experience for both the Indonesian and the Australian students, immersed in the culture and the industry of the country, which has been incredibly valuable, and ultimately what it's trying to do is position the graduates of these programs in a position where they're able to more navigate an international labour market, which is where the music industry is an international business. And so I guess that was ultimately one of the underlying aims, is to really enable students to work effectively internationally. So that's kind of pretty exciting. And some of the pictures you're seeing here, so from the study tours, we went to one of the students in the course is a manufacturer of audio equipment, a large manufacturer of audio equipment in Indonesia, and our Australian students got to go to the workshop and do some workshop activities together, which was just fantastic. And obviously they've been to the Sound Adrenaline concert and explored some location recording with some traditional Balinese instruments, and so it's quite an exciting program, and I think the outcomes for the students, both for Australian and Indonesian, are excellent and surpass many programs. But the other kind of broader and I guess longer term outcomes that we're seeing from this partnership is that through the kind of partnership and collaboration, we're really able to get a deeper understanding and develop some industry best practices that are kind of really internationally recognized, because we're able to explore specifically what technical skills are required in Indonesia's music industry and Australia's industry, and kind of contrast those. What are some of those technology trends? There's definitely some learning that we've been sharing about the work practices and work conditions in studios and festival environments, and there's also been some sharing of the actual business operations and opportunities. So kind of exploring what's an opportunity in Australia might work well in Indonesia, or vice versa, or not. But all of that has been kind of shared in the partnership. And then there's kind of some broader outcomes further down the track that we're excited about. In the music industry in Australia, really over the past 2 decades, has there been some research into the economic, social and cultural contribution of the industry. And so that's kind of researching things about how many people are attending events and what they're paying and what kind of contribution that is to the broader economy. And so these kind of discussions have been able to help progress ways of thinking that Inyo, in his position with his other kind of audio peak bodies, can explore trying to start gathering this information to provide a clearer picture of their industry. And there's kind of some other stuff that's been shared that obviously with COVID, there's been lots of COVID safe practices that are being developed, and we've actually been able to share quite rapidly some Australian and Indonesian endorsed approaches to that. So that's quite exciting too. So I'm going to hand back to Tim now to kind of wrap up.
Thanks, Jesse and Inyo and Sesi. Now I'm just going to make some observations, general observations, which you're welcome to take note of or disregard, and also I'm going to look at the future with the like the trade agreement between Australia and Indonesia. So when we're contrasting whether to work with a public or private provider in another country, let's look at Indonesia. You can see that often public providers can tap into like a funding pool from the government more easily, and that can be a real positive to get the program off the ground. But on the other hand, it can mean that the partnership may be unsustainable without that funding being provided. So when it's withdrawn, it becomes hard to continue. With public providers, they sometimes have a strong reputation in the market, established reputation. But on the other hand, sometimes they're very slow at getting the decisions made or implemented. And on the other hand, private providers such as Enter Audio House, they're very flexible. So they've come with their industry expertise. They brought that to the table, and we found that we can work very nimbly with them. We can if we encounter any issues, it's quite easy to have a conversation, a discussion, and come to a mutually agreeable solution. So look, when you are looking for a partner in another country, such as in Indonesia, for example, consider what your clients are trying to do out of it, and you may well decide it's better to work in this instance with a private provider or a public provider, and also your own objectives. What are you trying to get out of it? So I think we're getting out of this partnership everything that we need. everything that we want out of this partnership. I think from our point of view, we would like to keep supporting Into Audio House so they can get what they need out of the partnership in the long term. Next slide, thanks Jesse. So with the IA-CEPA, look, we've known for a long time that Indonesia encourages Australian providers to come in country, but this agreement really does just say we are open for business. That's the main thing. We can see there that there's a benefit of owning like a campus. You can have a 67% ownership of a campus in Indonesia now, whereas before it was quite restrictive. So Melbourne Polytechnic, we are going to be looking into that quite aggressively. We would like to set up a campus in Indonesia at some point. But on the other hand, we are also very comfortable working with an in-country partner. If we would go in with our own campus, we would work with a local provider, because who knows the market better than the local Indonesians? And they will know how to market into that market better, and they will also understand the legal foundation. And we still find that the legal guidelines in Indonesia are quite opaque. So we definitely rely on that in-country knowledge. And we're fortunate we have a very supportive Austrade office and also Victorian government office. And we've got Clarice here today, so we know we can always go for in-country advice. So I encourage other providers to make the plunge and work with the in-country reps from Austrade and Victorian government or your state government and TDA, of course, and you can use that advice to be successful. Eva, there are a few questions there. Would you like us to answer now or at the end?
Let's keep them until the end. We'll have a Q&A. So yes, I've just noted that, and we'll be passing on and raising the question with you after the second case study.
Fantastic. So that'll be it from Melbourne Polytechnic and Into Audio House. Thank you everyone for your attention. We're happy to answer any other questions at the end. Thank you.
Wonderful. And so thanks to all the speakers. That was really interesting. And thanks, Tim, for your final kind of big picture and, an overview of what to be mindful of when thinking about a partnership between two organizations. I think that's very interesting, and we might go back to that as well at the end of the webinar. Let me now pass the floor to our second lot of panelists. So we have Bev and Megan from Bendigo Kangan Institute and Deyi from Yogyakarta State University. So a word of introduction of our three panelists. Bev Jeffries is the Business Development Manager at BKI and has extensive expertise in international education, working with government bodies, vocational institutes and industry in many countries. Bev has a strong interest in developing the professional practice of vet teachers and developing international opportunities to enhance the learning experience and outcome for students. We also have Deyi Murniati, who is a lecturer at Yogyakarta State University and PIC for the Faculty of International Affairs and Partnership. Deyi has extensive experience in fostering collaborations with many overseas institutes to develop international opportunities for Indonesian students and staff. Welcome, Deyi. And we have finally Megan. Megan Kirkham is currently the Education Manager for the Business and Professional Portfolio at Bendigo Kangan Institute. Megan came to TAFE 20 years ago after 20 years in the global fashion market. Megan considers herself extremely fortunate to have been involved with YSU collaborations and having visited YSU on a number of occasions, and we're extremely fortunate to have the three of you today. So I'll pass on the floor and thanks very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Eva. And now I'll try and share my screen. Okay. Sorry, it's gone right back to the start. Okay, can you all see that? Is that up, Eva?
Not yet.
Ah, wait a moment. I'll go back in.
The pleasures of technology.
Oh, I know. Okay.
A webinar without something like this happening is not a webinar. So.
Oh, okay. Okay, so that's normal.
Okay, where is it? Okay. It's not coming up as sharing. It's disappeared.
Okay, I do have the backup.
Wait a moment. Let me try one more time. Okay.
Yeah, I think it's working now. Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, are we there?
Yes,
Yes.
well done.
Yes.
All right. Well, for all of our Indonesian people attending today, Selamat pagi, and a warm welcome to everybody else. Our Bendigo Kangan Institute has been partnering with Yogyakarta State University for many years, and one of the points picked up from Melbourne Polytechnic's presentation was this idea of collaboration, and the three projects that we are going to showcase today really demonstrate a collaborative approach that not only benefits our institutes, but provides international experience and learnings for both our staff and our students, as well as offering opportunities for industry engagement. So it's a pleasure that we are able to present today these three individual projects, which have built momentum over all the years that we have been working together, and haven't actually started as business opportunities, but are very much leading in that direction. So very briefly, a little bit about who Bendigo Kangan Institute is. We are actually two institutes, one Bendigo TAFE and the other Kangan Institute, and we are a government provider of vocational and education training programs. We have 10 campuses, both in the metropolitan area of Melbourne and in regional Victoria. We offer over 300 courses, of which fashion and design is one of our programs, or one suite of our programs. We're very large. We have over 40,000 enrolments and 1,100 staff. One of our focuses is the development of our centres of excellence, and we have 3 of those in automotive, health and community, and food and fibre. We also offer training to many of the Victorian correctional campuses, and we have 112 staff working in that area. So we're quite diverse, but beginning to move towards this specialisation. So Deyi, can I invite you now just to introduce Yogyakarta State University?
Yes, thank you, Bev, and welcome everyone. I would like to deliver a little briefly about Yogyakarta State University. So my university is an educational university which ranked number 12 among more than 4,500 universities in Indonesia. But in the field of education, my university ranked as number 1 in the country. Focusing in the my faculty of engineering, located here, is committed to become an excellent faculty in the technology and vocational education based on conscience, autonomy, and intelligence in 2025. Faculty of Engineering has 6 study programs, which are electronics, electrical, mechanical, automotive, civil, and culinary, fashion design, and cosmetology. Thank you.
Thanks, Deyi. The 3 projects that we hope to showcase to you today is around student mobility, conferences and guest lecturing as a joint program, and then an Australian funded fellowship program. The student mobility has been a wonderful opportunity because it's one of the programs that provides an international experience for Australian students. That when we often think of international education, we often think of overseas students coming to Australia to undertake a whole variety of courses. And in the vocational and training sector, it's not often that Australian vocational students get the opportunity to engage in an international experience and travel to a partner institute to undertake a program within their field of study to really enhance their employment opportunities and their global understanding. So we have been very fortunate in securing three years of these programs to be able to undertake the program with Yogyakarta State University. And I will, a little bit later, Megan will give you some more details about that. With the conferences and guest lectures, this is a development that has been made by Yogyakarta State University. They conduct vocational conferences, and they have invited Bendigo Kangan experts to be keynote speakers and contribute at the conferences, and we'll explain some details around that. And the last one is the Australian funded fellowship program, where we're able to have a group of Yogyakarta lecturers study with us for a period of time to undertake a course in sustainable and ethical fashion. So if we go back to the first one, the student mobility, Megan, perhaps you'd like to introduce this program to the webinar.
Yes, I would thank you, Bev, for the opportunity, and thank you for the opportunity to showcase our mobility program. We were very fortunate to secure the Endeavour Mobility Scholarships that were put up by the Australian government, and we were lucky enough that we've secured these on 3 different occasions for our fashion design students. Bev Jeffries, who is talking to us along with her offsite in Merowyn from BKI, have a very proactive approach in pursuing, establishing and strengthening our relationships with Yogyakarta State University. And we also need to thank the Yogyakarta faculty for their great support and their vision. Without their wonderful involvement and putting together the programs for us, our outcomes could have been very different. But we've had such a very positive experience and learned so much in the traditional methods of batik that we're so eternally grateful for.
Mm. Yes, and those photos that you can see there are just wonderful showcases of students working together, looking at this traditional design. And one of the outcomes was incorporating the techniques and understanding this cultural significance, but putting it into some of their contemporary collections, which was really stunning, stunning design. Deyi, would you like to add a little bit more about the student mobility from YSU's position?
Yes, sure. Thank you. So this is the other activity in student mobility program. Also, Bendigo Kangan Institute has initiated student mobility program since 2014. So it's been a very couple of years ago, since 2014, and continued annually until 2017. And then the students of Kangan learn batik design techniques and also have collaboration projects with my university, Yogyakarta State University students, to make variety of batik final products, then showcase it in the end of the program. So as you can see here that they do some projects with students, and this is one of our lecture in batik design, as well as lecture in the final projects, student final projects, to showcase it and display it in the carnival. Yes, thank you.
Thanks, Deyi. And some of those outfits are just amazing, aren't they? They actually had a joint fashion parade to showcase their designs. Megan, can I ask you to now talk about the skills that the students gained during this experience?
They did. Their students gained a lot of practical skills and a lot of soft skills as well. So the whole outset of the project was for them to learn traditional methods of batik. They've learnt the cultural significance for each of the regions of Indonesia. Each region has different traditions within their batik and different prints, different symbols that are used in the batik. We also were able to have industry visits to Indonesian manufacturing facilities. The students, both Australian and Indonesian students, were able to see the full gambit of the production methods and the facilities, from the state-of-the-art modern large-scale production factories through to the village and community setups where a whole village would be doing a production line of batik in different stages. It was just wonderful, wonderful to see. So we had traditional technique workshops and exposure to the modern techniques. And the whole time, while working with the Indonesian students and the Indonesian faculty, we experienced a great cultural immersion. So we were able to take so much more than just the technique of learning how to do this. We understood the heart of the batik, which is very important, and the significance it holds in the Indonesian culture, especially in the special region of Yogyakarta. Our students also undertook joint programs where they developed a range together, and they all had meanings and different reasons for their ranges coming together. They all found common ground within the groups. You can see the photo on the bottom right is the students in this group were doing, from their designs, they all took inspiration of what they found as a common ground for each other. They all did traditional dancing from their countries. The Indonesian students with Indonesian traditional dancing, I think this student in here is from Bali, so there was some of the Balinese traditional dancing. And the Australian student there to her left, she has a Scottish background, so she gave us a bit of a Highland fling as well. But it just showed that together we've all got something there that brings us together, and for these students it was their love of dance and their traditional dance that they put into their fashion range and batik. It was just wonderful to see the students working together and building camaraderie, and we've got so many lifelong friendships from these visits. It's just it's so heartwarming. And they've all come out of it. We had students who've also just grew in stature for their confidence and their abilities in having immersed themselves into a different culture for a 2-week period, and they've just come back with such a deeper level of understanding for their fellow humans. It's, you know, sorry, I get quite emotional about it because it's just one of my favourite times that I've ever been somewhere.
Okay.
Thank you, Megan.
Thanks, Megan.
I'm crying now.
and now to our second project to showcase, and this one is for the teachers, for the lecturers, that Yogyakarta State University and Bendigo Kangan jointly put a submission to the Australian government for a fellowship grant. And this allowed for a group of lecturers from Yogyakarta to come to our Richmond campus in Melbourne, which is our designated fashion hub, to undertake a course in sustainable and ethical fashion. And this is a real growth area for BKI and for the fashion industry. And the key feature of this program was that the sustainable and ethical fashion slant was put within a business framework. And it incorporated a lot of BKI teachers and presenters, as well as drawing on our industry links and bringing in some industry experts. So the course increased the knowledge and skills for the participants in developing sustainable business through a deeper understanding of the business planning and marketing for international trade and investment. One of the elements of the course was the teachers from BKI employed project-based learning. And so the participants actually had to have a very hands-on approach to this program. And the next slide, which Megan will talk about, is I love this term. It's a new one. It's not recycling anymore. It's upcycling. So Megan, can I get you to explain what upcycling is and what the project was about?
Yeah, upcycling is when you take something and you turn it into something else. You change its original intention and repurpose it. So the upcycling project, all the participants were able to share our visions for providing a more sustainable future for fashion. So much goes into landfill every year, and by upcycling it or repurposing, we can reduce the amount of landfill that fashion contributes to in each year. I must say that the participants fully immersed themselves into the project and all had such a great passion for this. So here you'll see a humble shirt that you've worn, that you've finished with it. So what do you do with it? You put it in the rubbish, you put it in a rag collection bag, it goes off to landfill, or it gets used as a rag in a mechanical workshop or somewhere like that. And then it goes and it rots in the ground. So with this, we've taken what would have gone to landfill, it's been re-imaged and redesigned. So it's been turned from what once was a shirt and served its purpose as a shirt, it's now having a second life as a bag. And it's a cute bag. So, and this is the type of thing that happens with all these, with upcycling. You're taking something from its original purpose after it's filled its original purpose, and you're still getting value from it.
Thanks, Megan. And Deyi, if you just wanted to talk to this slide with what the students have produced.
So in the fellowship program, so this fellowship program already inspired our university to organize some community services. So we help the community to practice, to learn about, to create innovative products which highlight the importance of sustainable fashion for teenagers. So as you can see in this picture, that the final project of upcycling already become fantastic product, can be it is a marketable product, and then it is very useful for teenagers. They become confident to use this product, even though the product is already used fabrics, and then they can transform it into this cool, awesome product.
Thanks, Deyi. And I think, Megan, you were just going to quickly talk to this one. This is another slide from the program.
This is also part of the program, as well as upcycling and repurposing. We also looked at some of the digital printing. In the past, when fabrics, etc., have been printed, they use the whole fabric, and there's a lot of off-cut waste. With this type of printing, which is a direct-to-garment printing, or what you could also call a spot print, this reduces the amount of inks that are used on the whole surface of the fabric, and it's only the sections that you want decorated that get decorated. So everyone got to design a design, and this was done with our digital printing capacity. I also want to add, from the fellowship, it was so delightful when we went to Yogyakarta the year after the fellowship to find the inclusion of the upcycle program in the Yogyakarta curriculum, and the students all learning it. So it was really delightful to see. And it also, this type of thing also shows us that both institutes are quite like-minded, and we have learnt so much from each other throughout these projects, and it's something we hope to foster and continue.
Thanks, Megan. And Deyi, the third project, just very quickly, is your conferences and the guest lecturing.
Yes, so we conducted some conferences for vocational education. So in these conferences, we invite some guest lecturers from some countries, including from Kangan Institute from Australia. And then these conferences, we invite we invite them to deliver the benchmark of fashion industry in Australia and also conducted some class workshop. So our staffs and students gain important understanding and experience to develop innovative fashion design and open up the opportunity for industry partnership. And also for the next slide.
Okay. All right. So the next one is about your shared learnings.
Yeah. So from all of these programs, this is indeed significantly gave multiple lessons learned from Kangan Institute to deliver best practice to be conducted in our university. For example, for student mobility, we have from student mobility and then fellowship and conferences, we have vocational education perspective and knowledge. And then also to enhance capabilities as education university, and also to develop university industry innovation hub as what Kangan already does right now. And then for student mobility program and student collaboration projects, it is significantly enrich our students' international experience. For new trends in fashion regarding innovative and sustainable products, which support one of our university main duties to set up community services, help the society to learn and practice used fabrics into innovative and marketable products.
Thank you, Deyi. And the shared learnings from BKI are very similar, actually. All of these programs offered a great opportunity to internationalize, to embed in the culture of our institute, not only for staff, but also for our Australian students, which has been a highlight. We've also fostered enhanced industry collaborations through the joint programs, both in Australia and in Indonesia. For the BKI students, this whole increased awareness of international opportunities, and what we have found on sort of both sides, by offering these study tours and these opportunities, it's great for marketing for prospective students at the beginning of the course. And there's also enhanced employment outcomes for students when they are actually looking for a job. So these three programs build, and we could move into more commercially funded projects. But some of the ideas that we are exploring, particularly in these COVID times, while travel is not possible, we're looking at continuous student mobility, but doing virtual student mobility programs between both of us. We're looking at joint programs and looking at project-based learning, online project-based learning between Yogyakarta State University students and Bendigo Kangan students, in not only in fashion and design, but in hospitality and maybe some engineering as well. Again, industry presentations online that we could support each other's industry clients to deliver some specialized programs, and then the whole notion of staff professional development from both. So that is an overview of our projects and our collaboration, which has been an absolute pleasure to work on and develop. So I'll leave it there, Eva, and let you open it up to the Q&A.
Thanks very much, Bev, Deyi and Megan. That was really interesting. And I found that it was actually a good, very complementary to what Melbourne Polytechnic and Enter Audio House have presented, also from a, the benefits for both partners in having these collaborations. So I would like now to start the Q&A session. So we already had a first set of questions, and let me just find them. Let's see, I've written them down. So I think the question was, so Tim and Inyo, there was a first question about how long it takes to start the collaboration and what is the timeline between having the initial discussions and the first cohort of students.
Thanks, Eva. And Sesi and Inyo are going to give you most of the information. I just remember having a drink in a bar in Bandung with Inyo and hearing about his ideas. But I think Enter Audio House can give a better description about that timeline.
Okay, thank you so much. And I think I will gonna take the time to answer both of the questions. If I can see that the first question, I mean, like the answering the question of how long does it take to start the collaboration, which is the question came from, sorry, Lulu, yeah, Lulu Purnamasari. So if I may answer it, it was approximately around 1 year to wrap up everything from design agreement and then sent lectures to Melbourne Polytechnic and done some promotion activities. But before we finally do the opening ceremony along with the first batch student orientation. So it's probably a year because when Tim mentioned that he was talking with Pak Inyo in the bar, at that time supposed to be at the end of 2017, and then we do the things and sign the agreement in 2018, and we start the program with the first batch along with the opening ceremony. It's on 2019 early. So if I can move on to the second question about
the second question was also, how did the advertisement work to get the students?
Yeah, so yeah, it's lucky that our founder is one of the audio and event practitioners in Indonesia. So we're more like to grab the community attention by doing the education socialization in 10 biggest cities in Indonesia at that time. Besides, we've also do the website and social media promotion like it's supposed to be. Probably Pak Inyo will gonna add some more answer, or is it enough? Clear enough?
I know that Jesse took something with, he was part of the promotion as well.
Oh, yes.
Jesse, do you want to talk about the contribution that you made to support them with that initial promotion? And Inyo might want to talk a bit more about did a bit of a road tour of Indonesia, I remember, with that first promotion.
Yeah, sure. I'll just add a few comments to that. So I think one thing, just on the time frame development, I think it's probably worth noting that because of the particular cohort of students, that the qualification really needed to be developed from the ground up. There was a really high expectation in the market, and so we kind of had to make sure that we felt really confident with the product before implementing it. I think should it have been possibly a less complex program, or should the market have not had such high expectations, possibly the development time could have been less. I just thought I'd kind of mention that. And so part of the promotion, I guess, and one of the things that was felt important was that really there was some, that it was seen that there was some international endorsement for the program from Australia. And so that was seen as kind of important for us to be present and involved with that. And it was also, I mean, I certainly found the experience really valuable. And I think to get a really deep sense of who are the people who would be doing this training, what is the audience, how is it going to work for them, and how is this going to run out for a number of years, how is it going to develop. So this is just my couple of little comments around that.
So yeah, we build the program, we not do the program. So our base is community. In Indonesia, there's no program, education program from the government. So we cannot use anything from Indonesia. We have to use something from the outside of Indonesia. So this program is very correct to run in our industry. So we have too many community in Indonesia. So we join together we have education, audio education for ourselves. So if someone want to make something in Indonesia, you must watch there's nothing in Indonesia, so you can run this program. There's many things, so not in Indonesian education platform, so like showbiz, like many things we can make the education here. So we start in audio engineering. Maybe if no pandemic, maybe we have planned to run the second program with event management. There's no education in event management in Indonesia. So we collect the many community first. Our student is come from our community. And then next, we start with the transnational vocational program. Maybe next after that, we can they can pathway to Australia, or maybe Melbourne Polytechnic can make a university in Indonesia. So we can start the student from the fresh graduated. Now we start from the power of community. Thank you.
Thank you, Inyo. I have a second question. Maybe I'll ask that to second lot of panelists. And it says, interested to know how some of these collaborations are adapting to the travel bans now and for the near future. For example, the Endeavour mobility is now not an option for student travel. Maybe Bev, you'd like to start, and then whoever would like to contribute afterwards.
Okay, thanks Eva, thanks Karen. Look, yes, this is one of the reasons why we are trying to explore the virtual student mobility, to still undertake a program, but using an online platform. It would be very different. I know you wouldn't get that whole immersion and engagement, but you could still have the collaboration. So that is, while travel is not possible, that really is an option that we would be exploring. And secondly, when travel will be back on at some stage, we'd be looking at perhaps some co-funding activity, that a contribution the students would need to make, maybe a contribution that institutes could add, but also maybe some sponsorship from our industry. So we're looking at that sort of idea of just to keep these projects continuing, because they are so valuable. So if someone else has some ideas.
Yeah, thanks, Bev. Look, it was really disappointing last year when the federal government announced they weren't going to be funding more Endeavour tours for TAFEs. And I know that TDA are not happy about that, and they advocate for us all the time for that. But then COVID hit, which meant that we couldn't have done it anyway. But look, going forward, you know, there are opportunities as well, because as you'd probably be aware, most Endeavour trips were not to Indonesia previously, but Indonesia is close to Australia, and we can actually find very cost-effective trips, and we can get we get bigger bang for our buck. If we want to send a group of students to Paris, it'll cost a fortune. But an Endeavour mobility trip to Indonesia, we can get really good flights if we plan properly. And from our trip that we did last year, which was an Endeavour funded one as well, to Bali for the Soundrellinon concert, we know that our local partner helped us to keep costs down. They took a lot of the costs on themselves and to really support the tour. So look, when you're working with a partner that you really trust, that they will do whatever they can to keep your costs down. And I think we will find a way to send a group in 2021 the value, as you can see, and we've seen from Kangan what a great value it is to both Australia and Indonesia. I think we will do our one in 2021. The virtual tours sound like a great idea. We should have to explore that as well. But I think we'll be having 1 or 2 trips to Indonesia in 2021, and I think that audio engineering will be the prize as well.
Great, thanks very much. Any feedback on that? Any answers from our Indonesian speakers?
Well, I would like to follow up what Bev already said about virtual, and then we definitely support that idea, and then this would be great for us to continue the collaboration in Ubuntu in this. It will be conducted in virtual platform, and then our university is committed to be increasing the level of the level of world class university. I mean, we committed to be more world class university. That is why we also provide funding, and then we agree to have like share funding with the Australian Institute if it may happen in the future, and then since travel to Australia and then conducted some trainings in Australia is definitely costly for us. So virtual learning is the best, I think. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I actually have a follow-up question on that. So could you comment on what you see the future of your collaborations could be with the growth of online learning and these new virtual, teaching and learning formats in these transnational partnerships? So some silver lining to the COVID pandemic, and what does that mean for you? Maybe Melbourne Polytechnic, any ideas? And then we'll open it up to other speakers.
Well, look, Jesse, do you want to talk about this program, because you've done a lot? It's all online now, I believe.
Well, yeah, look, I'll jump in and respond to that. So there's a great deal, obviously, that we've explored that we can achieve online now, which is terrific. And I think one of the greatest things is that we can access kind of industry experts all around the world to share their knowledge and experience, which is fantastic. And I think that that's something that will continue to occur, is that sharing. It actually makes that knowledge sharing much easier, which is fantastic. And I think that it'll be here to stay. Certainly all the kind of training resources are online, and there's some online engagement. And I think probably the challenges that we have to work through is just how we work on the vocational setting, where there's some applied skill development and some industry specific kind of technology that's required. And but there's lots of innovations that are coming out about how to kind of develop those skills when you might not be able to be in the same place with somebody. So there's lots of actual technology solutions to that, and probably the challenge that still exists for us perhaps in Indonesia is the stability of the IT infrastructure to deliver that consistently. I think, particularly when we're engaging people in an education product that they're paying for, that's dependent on a network that isn't always stable. That's where we've got some clearly challenges in Indonesia to keep working through that. But there's obviously great opportunity to collaborate and learn still in a remote environment.
Eva, if you don't mind, I can add just a little bit. There's also an opportunity of looking at just very small units of training or some skill sets to value add to both an Indonesian program and an Australian program that offers a point of difference. And Dewey and I have had this discussion around hospitality and in the culinary area of
Yes.
being able to teach our Australian students information about use of spices in cooking or Indonesian cooking, and in the alternative is the Australian Bendigo Kangan students teaching the Indonesian, undertaking barista training to make coffee as we have it in Melbourne. Just these sort of small partnerships, and the other one I mentioned was moving to project-based learning, that if you have very similar courses, that you have an Indonesian course and you have an Australian course, whether it be fashion or hospitality or whatever, taking some of the assessment tasks, that take some of the activities, and jointly having group work between your partner and your own institute, just to internationalize what we're offering. And I think that's got, so it doesn't always have to be a very large project and a very large program. It can be just value add to what we currently do.
Yeah, very interesting.
Yeah. Just wondering, just to add, this is the actually the question from my colleague from Yogyakarta State University in the Q&A. I just read it. So about the collaboration in other field, not only in the fashion, but because field of in creative industry is a lot. For example, culinary, and then we also have cosmetology. How about how to develop the occupation standard in through virtual learning? Is that possible as well?
Yes. Yes, it is. It very much is. It is also possible for us to map the Indonesian qualifications to the Australian qualifications for joint credit transfers. And that's a project that I'd really love to be involved with, both across fashion, culinary, and even our engineering areas could be doing this as well.
Oh,
it's definitely a possibility. Bendigo Kangan Institute also has another branch called VET-assess, and we do overseas skills recognition. So definitely.
Thank you.
And having been there and seen what your teachers do and gone through your classes, there's not an issue with your qualifications and skills being recognised by us.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Megan.
Thanks. And it's interesting because occupational standards are another, and the development of occupational standards is another area of collaboration between Australia and Indonesia. And just maybe pointing you to a previous webinar that we did on tourism and hospitality, when one of the case studies was what William Angliss Institute, which is a specialized TAFE institute in tourism and hospitality, and how they have supported the ASEAN countries develop regional occupational standards in tourism and hospitality. So the recording for that webinar, which took place earlier this week, should be available shortly on the TDA website. So for those who are interested in how these collaborations can take place in that field of that area, please feel free to go and have a listen to this case study. So it's definitely, and it's a very important, not only an interesting, but it's an important area of collaboration. So thank you for the question.
Indeed.
So I
just add to that last question in terms of audio engineering. So I guess what Enter Audio House in Melbourne Polytechnic have tried to do is to set the benchmark for the audio engineering industry in Indonesia, because as Inyo explained in Indonesian, which I understood 100%, he was saying that they don't have, no, I didn't, they don't have a qualification in Indonesia that, like we do in Australia, that is the industry standard for working in the industry. So I remember that first chat with Inyo in Bandung, and he was saying that he's got these fantastic workers. They were amazing, but then they apply for a job to work on an international concert, and it says they've got a Bachelor of Arts, and it doesn't look like they are an expert based on that. But then you look at their experience, and you look at their competencies, and they are fantastic. So what Jesse has done is he's helped develop this certificate, which brings some of the quality from the Australian qualification, but not all Australian specific. So you take out some of that Australian context, and then you look at what Indonesia needs, and working with the industry experts in Indonesia, such as Inyo and his team, we have designed a qualification that we believe is the benchmark. So I would love to see Kangan and their partners in Yogyakarta to do something like that in fashion. That would be really good to see as well.
We open for other field of study as well, not only fashion, but we do have culinary, cosmetology, and then under engineering like automotive and mechanical.
Yeah,
and
we'll talk later. We'll talk later, Wiggy, because sorry, Deyi, we'll talk later because we've got all those qualifications, and yeah, and I've got four of them under me. So
okay, look forward to.
It's lovely to see, partnership developing in the making in front of us. So yes, another outcome of this webinar would be hopefully have more.
Unbelievable!
I love working with Yogyakarta State University. They're just
I do love Kangan. Oh, thank you, and you too, Megan. You are so lovely.
No.
Well, that's great to hear. We are getting to the end of our webinar. So before we finish, I would like to just let all our participants know that they will be receiving a follow-up email where they're invited to get in touch with us if they have any questions about the programs that were just presented, or would like to know more about Australian TAFEs and what programs are being delivered, and or if they would like to touch base with some of our panelists today. So that should be coming to you shortly. And it's been really lovely to have had you all. Thank you very much for your time and your enthusiastic sharing of your experiences. It's very also heartwarming to see that there is some wonderful cooperation happening despite the challenges and the lack of travel and face-to-face interaction. So best of luck with your programs. We look forward, Bev and Megan and Deyi, to hear about upcoming collaborations, between your two institutions.
Thank you for inviting us. Thank you for organizing this.
It's our pleasure. And in the meantime, thank you all, and I wish everyone a lovely end of the day.
Thanks.
Thank you, Eva.
So bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Eva.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks
See
so
you,
much.
everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Goodbye.